put yourself in their shoes. What are they seeing? Like, they're also giving you the time to talk to you. They could go and talk to someone else as well, right? It's that mutual understanding. Like, yeah, I understand where they're coming from as well. That's what I love about Gary Vee, for instance. I love Gary Vee in the fact, like, I don't know if you've been to his VCon events or whatnot, but every single day he's probably standing out there. There's a line of people that want to talk to him. He stands there for probably like, I swear, like 6 hours a day. Just stands there, and everyone comes up one by one. Everyone has that thing inside them that they could be successful. They could do whatever they want to be. So.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the 1% Podcast. I'm your host, Vin, and
I'm Shane.
And today we are joined by my friend, Shane at Known For. Shane, what's up, my man?
How are we doing? Thanks for having me, gentlemen. Excited to be here.
Great to have you here, man. So, listen, let's just jump right into it. You're doing a lot of really cool things. Can you tell the listeners what you're up to, a little bit of your story and your background, and how you're currently showing up in life?
100%. Yeah, so actually I just got back from Dubai yesterday. I'm a little jet lagged still. It's a 16-hour flight, so that's never fun. I was out there with one of our clients, Lanta. He painted a car out there. We met up with a lot of business meetings. We're doing some stuff in the real estate area out there, as well as the fashion sector. So we had a lot of business meetings. We also each spoke at this thing called the Billion Follower Summit. So it's hosted by the UAE government every year. It's where they have all their biggest influencers, pretty much from around the whole, Middle East come, and it's a creator event. You know what I mean? So there's lots of good people to meet. There's panels. So I spoke on the panel myself with this creator, very big creator. She had like 5 million followers, and then the president of this company called Whaler. They're like the biggest marketing agency in Europe. So I spoke on that panel. Lana also spoke on the panel. We did some live art. So yeah, we were out there for about 2 weeks. Great experience. I love Dubai. But how I really got started is, I started in entertainment, right? I grew up playing drums my whole life from California. Was in a band, did my own tours, made my own merch, really did all my own marketing, just everything A to Z we pretty much did, me and my brother and our third bandmate. I did that till I was about 18, and then I, wanted to move to LA. So I moved to LA, started up like a small management company, which is managing anyone from videographers, small-time models, photographers, anyone I could get my hands on, really. And did that for about 2-3 years. That's where I started to meet some bigger clientele. And now I've been living in Miami for about 2 years. I live out here. I have pretty much all my clients based out here. And now Known For is my newest venture. We've been doing this for about a year now. We're really like entertainment marketing agency. So we have two sides of the spectrum. We have the entertainment side where we're doing talent relations, brand deals, events, and marketing campaigns for different companies with talent. Then the opposite is we're doing more traditional marketing, paid ads, SEO, website development for, people like dentist offices, skincare brands, and small restaurants. So we have two sides of the spectrum there. That's pretty much what I've been up to lately.
And can you, for people who might not be familiar, you mentioned that you're doing things with Art Lana. Can you tell us a little bit about him, who he is, and like how you kind of got involved with that guy?
Yeah. So Lanta, he originally started off as a singer in LA. When I met him, he's generally small artist. It was COVID. He wanted to try something new, so he's like, I'm gonna start painting. So he was painting a basketball court. I DM'd him on Instagram. He always likes to say that something in the universe told him to respond to me. So he responded to me. I went to meet him, and then ever since we met, we just had that good energy, and we just kind of hit it off. So I started off as his assistant for the first like year and a half, helping him just ship out paintings, deliver paintings, picking up materials, whatever assistant stuff I could do. At that time, I was in a 1-year music business program at the school called Icon in LA. So, I was kind of juggling that. And outside the daytime job, I was working for like Budweiser, stocking beers in a day. So like 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm doing that. And then, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. I'm doing a school like 4 nights a week, and then trying to help land in between all that. So was doing that for like a year and a half. And then, over the past, like I said, 2 years, I've been out here and been his full-time manager now in Miami. But, he's really known for, he does his splatter paint on luxury cars. We've done pretty much every car except like Bugatti at this point. all Lambos, Rolls Royces, BMW,
Pintos.
Mercedes. Everything. Yeah, we did a Ghost, we did Phantom, we've done lots of Colemans. We really we're going to do Bugatti in Dubai, but it didn't quite work out. So we'll get that next time. And yeah, he's just, he's a very unique artist, kind of paved the way for himself, and created his own lane.
I want to take it back, Shane, because there's a lot of gold here that you mentioned. And, our listeners, predominantly male, looking to get into entrepreneurship, or even juggling that, corporate job and still trying to transition into this. I've noticed by just your story here that you're just a hustler, right? Like you were working as far as Budweiser from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. I mean, even stocking shelves while still hustling, looking for that better option, looking for that career move for yourself. So you started this when you were in a band, right? As far as the merchandise, looking to make some money, looking to expand your actual name, and then it just continued on. So, is there any advice that you can give people who are looking to actually start their entrepreneurship journey, who are currently stuck into this corporate world? How did you really just go all in eventually into entrepreneur and say, you know what, forget this, I'm investing into myself? What was that big final move?
Yeah, I mean, first off, you got to have that self-confidence, self-belief. People talk about it all the time, right? You have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, then, no one else is going to believe in yourself for you. No one's coming to save you at the end of the day. Like, you got to, first get your mind right. And, by doing that, to get your mind right, do stuff like this, listen to these type of podcasts, read books, just give yourself good information. Like, there's so much bad content out there nowadays that is just like horrible. It's like, it's literally like making our brains rot and stuff. You know what I mean? So I would say definitely focus on, getting your mindset right first. And after I got my mindset right and I had that really self-belief, self-confidence, I knew I could get it done. The next step for me was relationships. And that's still what it is today, networking. I think that's, in my opinion, the most important thing in any type of industry, and just being an entrepreneur, being a person in general. Like, the more people you know, then the more access and more opportunities you're allowing for yourself in the future, right? It might not happen today or the next day or in 6 months from now, but in 5 years, like, I always like to say, I might be talking to the cashier at Starbucks right now, but in 5 years, he might be the CEO of $1 million company. You don't know, because that's just how life is. Like, you don't know what people are working on behind the scenes. So like, my thing is get out there and talk to people. If you feel like you're stuck in the corporate job, where like those people at that job are only focused on just that thing, and they're just working for that company, that's all they care about. Go talk to those other people in the world who, like I said, I mean, I was working Budweiser, and I'm hustling all the time. So you got to just treat everyone and just talk about what you want to do. And like I said, you're going to find a lot of like-minded people that are working on stuff that you can just connect with and, learn and grow from. And like I said, just who knows what's going to happen down the road, so that's what I would 100% recommend, is just talking to people and making relationships. You got to expand that network. And it's so easy nowadays. You have social media to keep up with people. I mean, back then, when our parents and grandparents were doing it, they had to really meet in person and so now we're able to have such a wider network of people. It's like, really, it's a lot easier nowadays, honestly.
I agree.
Yeah. Shane, what has been a successful factor for you when it comes to networking? Because we've talked a lot about networking on this podcast, and what I've come to find is that everybody has a different strategy, but our listeners and probably a lot of people are always wondering, right? So how would these people identify essentially where they should be finding these people, or how to identify a good conversation or somebody they should be networking with? Like, what has been your process that has led you to having successful networking opportunities and connecting with the right people?
Yeah, for me, like, I mean, it's leads game, right? Like, the more people you talk to, the higher chance you're gonna have of finding someone, right? Same thing as in sales. We all know, like, the more outreach you do, the more you try to sell, the more success you're gonna have, right? So I just say talk to everyone. Like, I always grew up, my dad always taught me to treat everyone the same, right? As in the fact that whether I'm talking to, like said, a janitor, or the trash man or the mailman, or anyone in life, like, you just gotta kind of treat everyone the same and talk to. Like, I think everyone's important to talk to, no matter what. You can learn anything from anyone. You know what I mean? No matter what, if they're above you or below you in their path of life, and you know what I mean, they're just their path, the journey of life. Who knows where they are, but my biggest thing is just leads. Like, talk to as many people as you can, get out there. That's what, like, human beings, we're social at the end of the day. Even a lot of people that are introverted, like, they still crave some of that social, interaction as well, because that's what humans are just that nature.
Shane, you want to go, or let me ask, because this is a follow-up for this, because Shane brought up a really great point. And I like what you said about how you keep in mind that everybody could have something to teach you, or whatever they might have within them. And so you're a big advocate to just talk to everybody. How do you maintain or keep yourself in a state where you remain humble? Because as you see people start growing, and it's like you're around influential people, you're talking on panels at big events, you're around people that people might start idolizing or wait in line for an autograph, or you're in a very interesting spot in your life. How do you remain in this state of being humble and talking to everyone the same way, and not getting too big and thinking like, I don't have time to talk to you, or you're not important enough because you're doing X, Y, and Z? Like, what's your secret for that?
Yeah, I mean, just gotta. My other favorite word is perspective, right? Like, put yourself in their shoes. What are they seeing? Like, they're also giving you the time of day to talk to you. They could go and talk to someone else as well, right? So it's like it's that mutual understanding. Like, yeah, understand where they're coming from as well. And of course, you're not going to be able to talk to every single person. That's, of course, that's unrealistic, right? But one of the things that people like about Lana too, for instance, is that every time we have our events and stuff, he's always trying to take pictures with as many people as he can. Giving everyone the time of day. Like, that's what I love about Gary Vee, for instance. I love Gary Vee in the fact, like, I don't know if you've been to his VCon events or whatnot, but
Mhm.
every single day he's probably standing out there. There's a line of people that want to talk to him. He stands there for probably, like, I swear, like 6 hours a day, just stands there, and everyone comes up one by one. And like, that's the thing about Gary Vee. He's the same way. Like, he deserved it. Everyone has that thing inside them that they could be successful. They could be whatever they want to be. So let me just talk to these people, help, and that's why he's so successful and has so many different business ventures, because he's able to talk to people and really connect. And put himself in their shoes as well.
Vin, I thought that was a phenomenal question too. And it really, what it comes down to, I think, is respect. And Shane, I just don't think that you see that level of sophistication in class of, you know, okay, where are you? You're down here, or you're up here, so now I have to change how I talk to you. I just, it's respect, and I think people lose sight of that. So I wanted to bring back people, especially nowadays, right, with Instagram and TikTok and all of the social media platforms that there is. People get comfortable behind the scenes, right? And you really said the major thing here is networking. So they get comfortable being a keyboard warrior. They get comfortable with, not going out and meeting people and just hoping and crossing their fingers that DMs and emails and these traditional old tactics are going to work, and they just never have to do it. Is there any advice that you can actually, give these people? Because from what it sounds like, even with Lana, and you guys are big customers or clients and friends for since COVID, so 5-6 years is what it sounds like. Is there any advice here? Is it just get off your ass and go do it? Is it a mindset shift? Is it you're born with it? What advice can you give for somebody who's in this technology world and getting comfortable with this, that wants to, go do it, but they're just afraid?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously I'm definitely a lot more extroverted. I'm not saying everyone's not going to be like me and have such a high social battery to be able to go talk and never allow people. I think everyone is born with something that they're good at in this life, right? That's why I also think for instance, the delegation of tasks is so important, because everyone's, I think, good, and you specialize in something. Like, you guys are probably better at something that I'm not, and I am probably better at something that you're not as good at. I think that's just the reality of the world. Like, not everyone's going to be good at everything equally, right? And I think that's why people have different positions of why I make such a great manager. I hear all the
You're on a roll too, man. I loved it.
um, I think, yeah. So delegation of tasks. Like I said, everyone's not going to be good at the same things, right? Like I said, you guys are not going to be good at some of the skills I have, just like I'm not going to be good at some of the skills that you guys have. People always tell me as well, like, I have such a high, like, I can take, a lot of stress, shit, whatever. So, like, that is why I make a good manager, because there's a lot always going at me. I'm meeting a lot of people. I got to, manage basically someone else's life too. You know what I mean? That's what a lot of management is. And so I think, yeah, it's definitely, you're born with it, right? But the other counterpart to that is, yeah, you just got to get out there and do it. Like, I always say, human interaction is the most important thing. Like, emails are not going to hit the same. A phone call hit the same. Like, unless you're standing face to face, like, that is the best form to really, like, connect with someone and, make a sale. That's why I still think, like, door-to-door sales is so successful nowadays still, with all this media and technology, because you're making that interaction with them face to face. You know what I mean? And that, like, you feel the energy when you talk to someone. You feel energy, right? That's why I'm also good at it, because I have a good sense of energy. When I meet someone, I can say I can get a good vibe, bad vibe. I'm good at reading people, and that's definitely a skill. But that's practice, because I've just talked to so many people throughout my life since a young kid. Like, that's just me now. I kind of understand how people act. You know what I mean? That's also a skill. So yeah, I mean, just like everything, practice makes perfect. You got to get out there and just do it. And I mean, if you're introverted and you don't like talking to people, then that doesn't mean you can't be successful in your business. But then you got to, I guess, it's just going to be something you have to navigate along the way. Like I said, it's impossible for you to really start a business and run a business without talking to someone. So you're going to have to overcome that obstacle eventually. So I would say, yeah, like I said, just getting that confidence in yourself and just putting yourself out there and be vulnerable. You gotta be nervous sometimes. You gotta be uncomfortable talking to people because that's how it is. Like if you're just not outside your comfort zone and putting yourself out there, then you're never gonna get to your full.
You said a lot of golden nuggets in there, and I'd love to kind of recap this here, especially if you're trying to be an entrepreneur and a business owner. Getting out of your comfort zone to be successful is a guarantee must do, and if you're not willing to take a risk on yourself and you're not willing to go into that uncomfortable place, then you shouldn't become a business owner and entrepreneur. You mentioned Gary Vee as well. And Gary Vee talks a lot about doing what 99% of people don't like to do and doing that 1%, which is cold calling, cold emailing, especially if you're starting out, and master that. And then the final aspect to that is delegation, which hiring people smarter than me, you, Vin, to do what they're best at and passing that off while you could focus on the growth of the company, more free time, or whatever issues may arise in the business is so crucial to that too. So I think everything there was very spot on. I think now for what's known for, it sounds like it's a full on marketing company for blue collar, white collar, and also very talented individuals. What are the goals here for the next, immediate 12 months here? What's the 2025 goals for Known For?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it's funny, Shane. We talk about I know you're a big VA guy, right? So we would definitely want to expand our VA team a lot in our different departments. Like I said, I mean, that's the thing. We have a lot of different opportunities, and that comes, like I said, from me going out there and talking to people, and people say, "Oh, I'm doing this," right? And so people always say, "Oh, it's bad to have too many things or only focus on one thing, this and this." But I personally, I disagree in a sense where if you have a structure and a system in place and that you're able to keep up with this capacity, then why not? You know what I mean? Not saying go take on 10 clients in each sector, but if I want to take on a client in each sector, you know what I mean? And I don't think that's a problem if you have that structure. So yeah, we just want to expand the team more. I mean, we do everything from managed Snapchat accounts. We monetize people on Snapchat, Facebook, Microsoft. Microsoft and Facebook, people do not take advantage of that. They pay a lot of good money for creators specifically. And then for the businesses, we're doing a lot of paid ads on Meta, Google, and we're doing a lot of their SEO, website development. We're doing their social media content calendar where we're posting for them. So like we have a lot of different services that we have. And so now we just want to be able to take on more clients at the end of the day. So like I just threw up a post today that we're actually going to be accepting like 5 more new clients. That's because like we've started to really build out our structure and add more people to the team. So just we want to grow this year, honestly. Like, we know we have a lot of great opportunities, and we know we have proven ways to make to make our clients happy, whatever that wants to be. Like, that's one thing I like to ask my clients all the time, which what do you want to be known for? Like, if you want to be known for going viral and having that crazy content, let's do it. Or if you want to be known for, crushing the ads game and just getting crazy ROAS and selling shit, then let's do that too. It's like whatever you want, we can make happen, right? So we just really want to expand this year. It's me and my 2 major co-partners, is TJ and Eli. So, Eli's a lot on the back end and stuff. And then we have TJ, he's a lot of like the digital marketing side. Like I said, I'm more like the front facing talent relations and that type of stuff. So, I mean, all 3 of us together make a great team, and we just want to basically expand this year.
I love that, man. I actually, this is really great that you're bringing this up, because I would love to ask you this, but I think that a lot of the viewers would be interested too, is what is your process for selecting and building a team, and how do you figure out this is a 2-part question. How do you figure out what ways to structure systems and processes for scaling? So first part is building out the team. Second part is structuring systems and processes for scaling. And go.
Part 1, so hiring. I mean, like I said, it kind of goes back to what I said earlier. I feel like I have, when I talk to someone, I meet someone, I get a good sense of, okay, are they going to be a hard worker? Are they going to maybe try to, slack off and just collect the check, whatever it may be, right? And I mean, Shane, as you know, dealing with the VAs, it's a little bit harder to do that, right? So, I mean, I have, like I said, I have friends that also have a way bigger teams than me that also run off VAs, right? So what I do, like I said, is I go to my friends and say, hey, what works for you? I always try to learn. And ultimately, like what they tell you is, number one, you got to take care of your VAs too, right? So one of my good friends, Ali, for instance, they if the VA works for them for 6 months, they'll buy them a new computer. It works for them for you. They pay a month of rent. Like that's going to make your workers and stuff want to go, work a lot harder for you, right? So always take care of your people. Ultimately, you're gonna hire people, you're gonna fire people, like, so you can't be afraid of that. Number one, don't be afraid to hire and fire. Like, it is what it is. You're gonna hire people that's not gonna work out, they're gonna move on. That's just the reality of business, right? So a lot of people are scared to even do that in the first place because they don't want to fire someone. So you have to get over that fear, number one. And then ultimately just looking someone that kind of goes well with your company culture, that they believe in some of the same, principles and core values that you guys have as a company, right? And some that you enjoy working with. I always say, like, you don't want to work with someone that, like, you don't enjoy being around. Like, that's just the worst. Then, so, like, that's also number one, is make sure, you have a good vibe with someone, and make sure you're able to just, not have to fake it, right? Fake it to make it, and, like, oh, I have to go to work today and see so and so. Like, no, it should be a positive thing. Like, yes, I get to go to work, So definitely someone that aligns with that company culture. Second part, what was the second part again, Vin? Sorry.
No worries, man. Building out and scaling systems and processes. Like, you figured it out. Now it's like, okay, we're ready to ramp this up. How do you build those, and then how do you determine when it's ready to start, expanding and ramping?
Yeah, I mean, definitely delegation, like I spoke about earlier. You got to be able to delegate tasks, right? There's plenty of platforms to use, whether it's GHL, ClickUp, Airtable. We use Airtable to really track a lot of our tasks, on a daily basis, like daily tasks or what needs to get done. And then we use more like GHL for a lot of our, all of our funnels and our back end stuff. We're doing our marketing audits, building our funnels for our, for instance, our videos on Instagram, right? Every time I post a video, I'm like, oh, comment TikTok down below. I have to create a new funnel for that every time, basically. And that's the thing. Once you get it down the first couple of times, a lot of it's copy and paste. You're just going to be changing what you write. So number one, like, how to build systems, you got to get started. You got to try. Go on YouTube. There's a lot of great videos from a lot of great people that are like, I was watching this Alex Hormozy video, had like 600,000 views from like 7 months ago. I'm like, this is only 600,000 people in the world watch this. Like, if you go watch those videos and teach yourself, like, you're ahead of the game. You know what I mean? So get on there and just go watch and start learning. And you'll see, once you have like that foundation down, it's a lot of copy and paste in the tech world and stuff. Use ChatGPT, AI, use all these things that are at your disposal now. I mean, if you're not using that stuff now as an entrepreneur, like, trust me, it's not fun all the time. I don't like using it all the time, but it'll help you in certain aspects, especially when you want to build systems. Like, you're literally talking to a computer that is a system, right? So you go and take advantage of those things, and it'll really help you get that foundation. And in terms of scaling, to answer your question, I mean, definitely, like I said, we want to hire more people because, it takes people to run those systems. And, me personally, I don't have the time to go and build these systems, manually, right? And nor do I want to. That shouldn't be my focus. Like I said, you have to be able to delegate in your company. Like, my main thing is more the business development side, so that's what I need to focus on. So definitely, like I said, it kind of goes hand in hand with that, with the hiring your team. Find someone that you can rely on, and ideally, like, you want to hire someone and then train that person to be a manager, so then they can go and hire underneath them. You know what I mean? That's what you want. You want to grow from within.
I want to take this more on the partnership element here, because it sounds like the fundamentals, the foundation is good. You guys got a great aspect to overcome bottlenecks, because everything there sounds very spot on. Before I ask this question, I really wanted to highlight something that I preach about a lot. Is if you're going into entrepreneurship or owning a business, don't recreate the wheel. Do exactly what Shane just said. Follow somebody who is crushing the game, like Alex Hormozy, and emulate exactly what he's doing and make it better. Right off the bat, that's already amazing advice. So now, when choosing business partnerships, Vin and I talk about this with a couple other people as well, but it's always great to hear, mindsets of how to choose business partnerships. How did you choose yours? And it's like, okay, you're controlling this side, you're controlling this side, especially with 3 people, and I'm controlling this. Does it put all the stress on one plate if one's not performing? How do you guys handle, failures and bottlenecks that go into it? Like, another example, even on your side, let's say it was a bad month and we weren't able to bring in new clients this month, right? How is the communication with business partners with that? So I want to start it by, how do you choose these business partnerships? It's got to be more than just, vibes, and you guys can communicate well with each other. And then 2, if one area of this business, since it's segmented, doesn't work, then what?
100%. So yeah, I mean, to answer the first part, you know, you want to find someone that's good, like we spoke about earlier. Find someone that's good at the skills that you might not be so good at, right? Like I'm not going to go necessarily and partner up with someone that's really great at exactly what I do, because then
Right.
we're only then what about the other half of the business, right? So definitely find someone that is good at the skills that you don't have, and someone that shares that same mindset too. You know, like you don't want to. That's one thing. If you have a business partner where you need to be on them all the time, say, oh, make sure you get your stuff done, make sure you get your stuff done, then it's probably not going to work out because they're not in the same mindset as you, right? So they need to be aligned. Like, okay, like, you know, being an entrepreneur is a full-time job, right? You got to make a lot of sacrifices no matter what you're trying to do. Build your personal brand, sell products, you know, for especially for those first, you know, 2 to 10 years, however long it may take you. Everyone's on their own timeline. Like you really got to give us sacrifices. So like if it's not your partner's main focus, then it's probably not the right partner. You know what I mean? You shouldn't necessarily have, yeah, sure, people, we forget sometimes, right? And we get busy and we forget to do tasks. But if you're consistently trying to tell your partner, oh, you're slacking, then like I said, it's, don't be afraid to move on. You know, like I always say, time is valuable, right? You don't want to spend 3 years of your life working on a business when the other person's not as dedicated as you are. Like you should just go move on at that point and value your time. You know, a lot of times people will, like I said, do that same thing, just waste their time when for 3 years, when it's like, okay, I could go in there in 5 seconds and tell you that your business partner is not nearly as motivated as you and doesn't care as much as you do, right? So that's number one, right? Find someone that is good at something that you're not at and that you guys share that same mindset. And then guys can do anything at that point. You can create any product, you can create any brand, you can do anything. You know, you just have to have that mindset and that drive, you know, and have that, you know, ambition. You need ambition as an entrepreneur.
I can personally vouch with everything that you just said. Somebody who's had business partners in the past that have failed businesses was the exact reason that you just said. That one person was either a harder worker or had to micromanage the other person because they weren't doing their job. But what it came down to it is we were motivated. One was motivated a lot less as far as the business aspirations compared to the other one, and they weren't in line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like an analogy I always love is like, think about, like, let's say your business is a bus, right? You have the bus, and I'm let's say, okay, I have this poor idea, so I'm the driver of the bus. Now you want to get the right people on the bus before you start driving the bus, because if not, then you're gonna go and then you got to make a stop and then let someone off and let someone back on. And if the more you do that, the more time you're wasting, the more stops it is, the more flow gets around. But if you just get people on the bus and you can drive forever, you know what I mean, without stopping, then that's obviously you're going to see a lot better results and a lot more growth in your company overall.
It's a good, good analogy. I like that.
So Shane, not Riggs.
The second part to your question, did I answer it, Shane Riggs?
I thought you answered it perfectly. It was essentially just the business partners. How do you choose them, and how do you continue the growth mindset if one is failing into that? But to be honest, it came down to business aspirations, motivation, and communication, which I agree with 100%.
So Shane, I have a little pivot here, but I think this is a really good one because I'm definitely curious. I love your branding. I gotta say, known for
pretty cool.
It's absolutely phenomenal. So now I'm curious about how your business works specifically. So what if I came to you and I said, Shane, I want to be known for self-mastery. I want to be known as the next Tony Robbins. How do you guys go about that process? Like what does the business side of your operations look like? Like how do you make people known for something?
Yeah, I mean, so if you want to use the Tony Robbins example, right? I mean, first thing first.
Coach us.
First thing first, if you come and tell me that, well, then you better be, like I say, you better have all that mindset. You better have that drive and ambition and really know what you want to do with your brand. Like first you got to figure out, like I said, what do you want to be known for? So that's the question. I always ask the first question. And sometimes it takes people a week to give me the answer, like really think on like, what do I, because, like I said, every brand has a direction. It has like a point they're trying to prove, whatever, I mean, they have like that, you know what I mean? Like that why, like, okay, why should I support your brand? Like they're all having that point where they are attacking because they're like, it's very direct, they're not just, you're not just making a brand and like, okay, like, let's just make a brand and make a brand. Like, no, you have to have a point or a product you're trying to sell specifically, right? That aligns.
Can I pause you for 1 sec? Because I like what you just said before you continue for the listeners.
Yeah.
If you notice, he said he wants to know why he should support you. So a big part of your brand is actually you don't just work with anybody. You actually want to work with people that have a good mission. Is that what you're also indicating? Because it sounds like it.
100%, 100%. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like for instance, I get a lot of influencers or people that want to be influencers. Like, oh, I want to make a personal brand. I want to get brand deals. Okay, cool. But like, what do you specifically want to be known for? I keep saying known for, you know what I mean? But like, that's what I'm saying. So like, that's why I love the name, because it's like, if once you figure that out, like if you figure out, okay, I want to be an influencer, I want to be Tony Robbins, and I want to teach people, different aspects about business, okay, then that's now that you know, now all you have to do is build off that foundation. Okay, so teach yourself, make sure, obviously. I guess it depends also what point you're at in the brand, right? Okay, let's you're fresh too, and like you have no social following, whatever. It's gonna obviously be, you gotta get the brand colors, your logo, you come up with a name. Of course, you gotta do all the basic stuff too, right? But that's honestly, in my opinion, that's the easier stuff. You can always rebrand. You make a logo, you make a name. If you want to change it later on, it's no biggie, right? Ultimately, you got to be authentic to who you are. What are you trying to sell? That's my main thing. If you're not being authentic, then you're never gonna really reach the full amount of people in the world, because people only want to buy when they connect with you, as you guys know, right? Like that's why I said human interaction is the most important. So first we get all that figured out, and then let's say, I mean, I like the Tony Robbins one, but let's use let me come up with a better one. Let me think of a past client that I had that I can use that I've actually done.
About to say, can there be a better one? Kind of cream of the crop over here.
Well, it's pretty good though, because what Shane is also talking about, which I think is a really important point, is authenticity. Is what you're indicating is what I'm hearing is that authenticity is one of the most important points, because we had a whole podcast
Makes you
based
different.
on we had a whole podcast based on fake it till you make it and how bullshit that is. But I like that you're actually coming at it with the approach of like, how authentic are you to the brand you're trying to create? Because we've seen so much bull crap. We've seen guys like, and I'm not afraid to name drop. We've seen guys like Ty Lopez scam people, and that he's made an amazing comeback, but his
What
brand was terrible.
what actually, that you bring up a great point, because fake it till you make it, showing these big wads of cash, these cars, these rental mansions, and all this other crap, it calls out to a certain demographic. How do you feel about that stuff comparatively to the authenticity?
I think it depends how you use it, right? Because I love what Wes Watson said too. Is people always get mad like, oh, why is he renting a Lambo? Why is he renting this boat? Why is he paying for this stuff? Like, that's not necessarily bad, because you're manifesting that, right? You're using it, like you put yourself in those things, and the more around that stuff is gonna come to you more. It's gonna you're not gonna chase it. It's gonna come to you, right? So I think it depends how you use it, right? Yeah, if you're like really portraying your whole life like this is all I am, of course it's gonna be bad. But I think having aspects of that here and there, saying, hey, yeah, like I'm aiming for this, that's a good thing too, right? So I think you have to have that balance. You definitely have to have the balance of using it for good, using it for bad. So yeah, I guess that's my last question, is balance. I think some people can use it way too much in a bad way, and I think some people are like, well, I think you could use this a little more, to spice it up a little bit. But I mean, I love you like Post Malone, right? Because Post Malone is one of those people where he started. I don't know if you heard some of his first music, but he was like some like weird like rap, like techno. Like you should go listen to it if you never heard. Like look at like Post Malone's first music video, you'll die. Like you're like, no way. But now he went from that. He went to pop to rap to now country. He's been able to do all that stuff because he's authentic who he is. People are like, okay, well, they're going to connect him. They're going to follow him wherever he goes, because he doesn't try to put on a facade or like fake it till he makes it. He is who he is, smoking cigarettes, drinking beer. Like that's who he's always been his whole career. Right. So I think that's, like I said, very important about staying authentic, is that people are going to want to follow you and be with you more where you go. Right. So obviously, let's say back to your original, like Tony Robbins, you have all this brand image, you figure that out, who you really want to be. And then of course, we'll come through and it's about those systems. Ultimately you can have the best offer available. Oh, I want to sell this, this, and this. But if you don't have the systems in the back end, the funnels and the follow-ups, follow-ups is so important this day and age. Like people are getting hit up all the time on social media and just nonstop. Obviously, we're busy as business owners. You're always busy. So like follow-ups are so important. I mean, there's plenty of people where I follow for 2 months. And after 2 months, oh, okay, now we finally talk, and then something comes out of it, right? So follow-ups for sure. You got to have all those systems in place to make that, to capitalize on your time. So we'll get all that stuff for you. Obviously we'll put together a plan for you, content plan. I like to say, you can really have enough content. If you shoot content 2 days a month, like you'll be good for the whole month, in my opinion, if you have that plan, if you have your scripts written out, And so that's basically, we come through and do all that for stuff for you, because it's a lot of work, right? But like I said, we have the infrastructure to help with that.
Love that. So Shane, you got something? Because if not, I was about to say something.
I mean, I just started transitioning into content for my company and essentially being the face of it. I fought it for so long because I was essentially the guy who liked being behind the scenes. I liked being the guy to go to networking events, but I was also able to grow my business to a high seven-figure agency with hundreds and hundreds of clients and virtual assistants without doing any of that stuff. However, it's now come to a point, and I just feel like I'm leaving so much on the table without being the face of my company. I have a faceless company, right? And that's kind of what I'm getting at. And I feel like I've reached to a point where it's going to cap out at one point. So I now see the opportunity, especially how big social media is with TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, everything, about being a face on a company and just talking strictly authenticity about what I'm doing day to day. What are my results? What are my clients getting? That's what people want to hear. And that's what it's come down to. And now my LinkedIn has, 20,000 followers from just posting that type of crap on it. And I mean crap, like that's it, guys. Like you do this. Yeah, this is what I'm doing. These are the results that I'm getting. You want to know more? Let me know. I'll send more. I mean, obviously there's a lot more fluff added to it, and you can add a lot of pizzazz, like we were talking about cars and stuff like that to get more social proof, but that stuff works.
100%. No, I couldn't agree more. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I love everything that you do. I'm a huge advocate for it, especially with nowadays. We talk about influencer marketing and how big it is, but I think faceless companies are going to eventually die, and you need to get with Shane. You need to, I feel like that's 101 as far as a goal, but what do you want to be known for? What do you want your company to be known for? I feel like I just want to say known for like 100 times now because it's just so, catchy.
It is.
So, Shane, I just wanted to essentially agree with what you're doing. I'm a big advocate with, influencer marketing and essentially companies having a face towards it, especially small to medium-sized businesses that don't have that. And a lot of these gigantic corporations that you hear, do you know who the CEO is? Do you know who the founder is? No, not really. Do they need it? Probably not necessarily, but small to medium-sized businesses, absolutely. They're going to bleed out. And the reason why is because nobody knows what makes them different. They don't know what they're known for. They don't have a brand, and they're just basing it off of tactics like I have been doing for 5 years. But I promise you, especially with how things are nowadays, building that know, like, and trust factor with having a face and showing, hey, this is what I do. This is what the results are giving. Do you want to know more? That's what people are buying into. Something that they can visually see and trust.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Like I said, even nowadays, the big corporate companies, right? Yeah, those big corporate companies back in the day, they didn't need to face, but now, people know who Mark Zuckerberg is. People know who Elon Musk is. We know the name of TikTok. We know the name of all these big companies, LV. Like a lot of these newer companies, people do know the CEOs and stuff now because that's important to people. Like they're not just gonna, this day and age, people are not just gonna, like you said, they need a face, they need to trust that someone, which is, like I said, back to the point, like networking and relationships is really, I think, right now so important.
I love it, man. Well, listen, we're almost done here, so we got 2 more questions for you. With that being said, we're going to ask you the question we ask everybody because it's so important. We started the 1% podcast with the premise of you don't have to be a billionaire to be a 1%er. It's about how do you show up in life? What's something you're striving for every single day? What is your version of a 1% life? And ultimately, everybody has their own answer, so I'm curious to hear yours. So, Shane, what is your version of a 1% life?
My version of 1% life is, I think there's a lot of aspects that go into it, right? But overall, you gotta, whatever you're doing, make sure you're enjoying it at the end of the day. Make sure you're happy. If you're waking up and working on your business and you're unhappy and you don't like it, like, I'm not saying there's not going to be hard days where, like, dang, this sucks, I don't want to do this. But, like, overall in life, you should be able to tell in your life, look in the mirror, look at yourself and say, am I happy doing this? Is this what I want to do? It's passion. Because if you're able to find something you can work on that you enjoy, like, you overall, you're going to be so happy. A lot of people in this life are not happy with their job. They're working at jobs they don't want to do, and they're just miserable. So my version really just is, waking up blessed every day and being able to do what you want to do. And if you have to, like I said, you're going to go through tough times. You're going to go work that job you don't want to. But if in your free time, if you're really focusing on something you love and enjoy, then it's all going to pay off, right? other aspects, you know, like I say, I always say, stay healthy, get to the gym, make sure, you know what I mean, you're getting your sun in, just the basics like that. I think that plays a big part in a lot of people's life as well. They don't realize, you know, staying healthy is a big aspect, especially if you want to have the energy to work and go above and beyond, right? Then you're going to need your body to feel 100% all the time. Another thing, like I said earlier, I mean, there's videos on YouTube that have 500,000 views. I mean, there's 8 billion people in the world. So imagine 500,000 views. You're in the 1% of people watching this content. Like I said, there's like so much golden content on YouTube, and you just have to find it, you know, instead of wasting your time and your free time looking at, you know, dumb content on Instagram or what other someone else is up to. Like, don't worry about what someone else is up to at that time. You know, go feed your brain good information, and just always be, you know, waking up willing to learn every day.
I love that, man. You said a lot of great stuff in there. It's interesting. Typically, when I'm working with someone, one of the things that I say is that there's a few specific pillars in life, which is hitting on financial, spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And out of all of those 5 pillars, right, it's like, how do you excel and build around that every day? And basically what you just described is you're working on each single pillar every single day, and that's giving you a 1% life. So I love that. We're super aligned in those values.
Yeah,
so
love that.
Last question for you, brother. How can people get in touch with you? Is there any resources or anything you give away? Like, what is the best way for people to reach out so they can figure out how they could be known for something?
Of course, yeah. So, you know, you can go to our website, knwn4.com. You can find us on Instagram, known4official. We also have our known4 sports page as well, spelled the same way with the 4. You can find me on my personal Instagram at Shane Farrell, Farre, with 4 L's at the end. You know, I'll put my email out there, business@known4.com. Shoot me email if you want to as well. That's like our general email that we respond to. So, you know, you can always feel free to hit that. And yeah, if you see me in person, feel free to come say, hey, you know, I'm always out and about at different events all around the world and small places anywhere. So don't be shy.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. Stick around for a minute afterwards. And as always, you guys, like, share, subscribe, comment, follow, share it with a friend. Let us know what you thought of the episode, and we'll catch you soon. I'm your host, Vin, and
I'm Shane.
And that was other Shane. See you, everybody.
Bye, guys.